Welcome back to another UCL fantasy video. Today what I'm going to be doing is looking at my best Limitless team for Game Week 3. I feel like Limitless will be very popular going into UCL Fantasy Match Day 3. I've got two teams here for you, so drop a comment and let me know which team you prefer in the comments, Team 1 or Team 2. And I think they're both equally so good in their own right. So if you are a UCL fan, then do hit subscribe on this channel. This is the place to be for UCL fantasy content, and also do drop a like on the video as well. It'll be very much appreciated. It takes 1 second to like and 1 second to subscribe, so if you don't mind doing both of them, as I say, if you're a fan of UCL content, please do that, and we'll jump straight into the video. So we're going to be starting off by looking at the teams to target. Now, we'll start off with Tuesday's fixtures on the left and Wednesday's on the right. So we'll start off with the Tuesday games and looking at the games that stick out to me to absolutely pick out for three players for, to triple up on a team. We won't be really in this Limitless. If you don't know what Limitless is, you get unlimited budget to bring in whoever you want, basically. Maximum of 3 players from one team. And straight away, looking at the Tuesday fixture, the fixtures that stand out to me is the Arsenal match against Shakhtar. I feel like a triple up on Arsenal is quite essential on this Limitless chip this week. And then other than that, nothing too much really stands out for me. A couple of teams of players that I'd like to go for. Looking at maybe Sporting versus Sturm Graz. Good fixture for Sporting there. A couple of players from there which catch my eye. Then PSG versus PSV. Defensively for PSG, maybe one of them players are catching my eye defensively. And then maybe Juventus versus Stuttgart. I know Stuttgart are a pretty good team, but Juventus, they have started pretty well in the Champions League. So a couple of their players are quite appealing to me as well. So those are the kind of teams that I'm looking at on Tuesday's night's games. Moving on to the Wednesday's fixtures, there's a few games here which do look pretty nice. Starting off with this top game there, Atalanta versus Celtic. I think that's a good fixture for Atalanta going forward, so maybe an Atalanta asset would be quite good there. Brest versus Leverkusen, I think, is a good fixture for Leverkusen. Brest have been pretty good in the Champions League, but Leverkusen are so strong and they got some really good UCL fancy assets. Then looking at the Inter Milan game, they're playing against Young Boys. I think that is a decent fixture for Inter, and there's maybe a couple of players there that are catching my eye from Inter Milan as well. And then for me, the absolute standout game of the whole fixture list on match day 3 is Manchester City versus Sparta Prague. I think that's an amazing game for Man City. A triple up is absolutely on the cards. So we'll take you through the first team that I've gone for, and as I say, let me know which team do you prefer, or you can even go for a combination of these two teams, but I do like both of these teams a lot. So we'll start off with the first team that we've got, and we'll start off with the goalkeepers and the back line. So we've gone for David Raya and then Sommer, and Sommer's obviously got the game against Young Boys on the Wednesday night, but then the Tuesday night it is David Raya against Shakhtar, and that's a really nice fixture for Arsenal. So I think David Raya is the highest point scoring keeper so far on Tuesday night. If it does go badly for Arsenal, you've got Sommer on the Wednesday night, who can then, you'd hope, could do a job and get a clean sheet in that. So there's 2 good chances of a clean sheet there. Then we'll talk about Leverkusen next. We have the double up on the Bayer Leverkusen back line with Grimaldo and Frimpong. Both so good going forward. They've got a decent enough fixture against Brest. It is away from home, but I do back Leverkusen in that game, and both of those two going forward, for me, they're just too good to ignore with that fixture run. We'll talk about another player who's not in this back line after he's in the second team. You probably know who we're talking about there. But then we'll go for another Arsenal defender, double up on the Arsenal back line with Saliba. Now, Arsenal are so good at the back. This could be Gabriel as well, whichever one you wanted out of those two. But Saliba, great for ball recoveries. And, Saliba and Gabriel up there were the 2 highest point scoring defenders so far this season. And, as I say, great assets in UCL with a nice fixture against Shakhtar at home. Then we have Hakimi, who is playing against PSV at home. I think there's a nice fixture there, and Hakimi's got that attacking potential. In the match day 1, he had the most shots out of any defender. Not against Arsenal, it wasn't quite the same, but I think in a nice fixture there against PSV, Hakimi is a really good option. He's someone that I'm pretty set on having in as one of my, if not my only PSG asset, because I'm not really too sure about PSG so far in the Champions League. Then we've got Rico Lewis against Sparta Prague. I think that's an amazing fixture for Man City. With Rico Lewis, he's not nailed on in the Man City lineup, so you'd kind of have to wait and see with the Premier League minutes what he gets. It could be Gvardiol you could have instead of him, but if Rico Lewis is on the pitch, I think Rico Lewis is arguably a more attacking threat, a bigger attacking threat than Gvardiol. But either one of those two, whichever one you feel that's going to play, is a great option there. So that's the back line, and that looks really strong. There is one player that's missing, but he will be in the second team that we'll show you. Now moving on to the midfield. Now we're kind of going for a similar theme, similar teams, but we've got a different team here in our first midfielder in Lookman for Atalanta. Now, we saw Celtic conceded 7 goals to Borussia Dortmund. They were tragic away from home. And they're away from home now against Atalanta. Lookman has been so good for Atalanta now for like 2 seasons. And he did really well in the last match in the Champions League. He started well in the Serie A as well. And I mean, obviously you get unlimited budget and Lookman's cheap. But to me, that doesn't matter. I genuinely think this week he could be a big differential as well. And one player that could do really, really well against Celtic. He is Atalanta's key player. And as I say, like, what an option. As a transfer in or a player in a Limitless, I think Lookman is absolutely fantastic. Then we've got Wirtz again, who's playing against Brest. And it's a nice fixture. As I say, not the best fixture, but it's a decent enough fixture for Leverkusen. And Wirtz, he's got man of the match, 2 player of the matches out, or 2 man of the matches out of 2 games. And as I say, good fixture, playing for an amazing Leverkusen team, which is good going forward. For me, and he's too risky to go without as well. He's very highly owned. For me, I want Wirtz in that team. He's in my Limitless team regardless. Then we've got a bit of a different shout. Phil Foden. He's just scored a goal in the last match against Bratislava for Man City. And he looks like he's coming back into the team. And if De Bruyne's still out, then Foden is a really, really good option. We'll have to see what happens with that. We've got a different option in the second team. The second team we've got with Man City assets. But Phil Foden, if he's starting in that fixture, I think it's an amazing chance for points there for Phil Foden against Sparta Prague at home. Honestly, the fixtures don't get as good as that for Man City. And Phil Foden, if he's on, he's at the heart of absolutely everything. And what a player. And for me, if I know he's going to be starting that game, he will most likely be in my Limitless team. I think he's got the potential to do so well. Then we've got Mo Salah. Now, I think he's pretty nailed on in my team. I know Leipzig isn't exactly the easiest of fixtures, but Mo Salah's just so good, and Liverpool have been so good this season. So for me, Mo Salah is an absolute lock-in. And again, he's another player that's highly owned, risky to go without him. And you saw how well he did in Matchday 2 against Bologna. That goal from cutting in from the right side, what a finish that was. And I'll be hoping for more of that in my Limitless team in Matchday 3. Then we've got Bukayo Saka as our final midfielder. And great fixture for Bukayo Saka. Shakhtar at home, an amazing game. That's the triple up on Arsenal. For me, I like the triple up. Personally, I like the triple up of Saka, Saliba and Raya. It could be Gabriel as well, but the double Arsenal defence and the Arsenal midfielder is probably my preference. We'll switch it up in the second team that we're going to show you. But Bukayo Saka is in both teams no matter what, and an amazing option for Arsenal. Undoubtedly one of the best options and standout players ahead of Matchday 3. And now moving on to the front line, it might look a little bit kind of on the cheap side, but with Bayern Munich playing Barcelona, it kind of rules out any players from there. Really, you could maybe go for a Kane if you wanted to, and then Real Madrid playing Dortmund and vice versa. I'm not really too sure about just going for their players. I'm thinking of just targeting the other fixtures. So Gyökeres plays against that Sturm Graz, and that's a nice fixture there. And Gyökeres is very good. He obviously disappointed in Matchday 2, but he's that kind of guy. If he gets a goal or two, he'll then be on the man of the match for Sporting. And, then he's on a big points haul. So for me, Gyökeres is a decent shout. He's not in my second team, but I like Gyökeres as a shout. I just think he's going to be one of the best forwards, and hence why he's in this team because of that reason. Then we've got Erling Haaland, and he'd be the captain against Sparta Prague on the Tuesday. Absolutely no questions about that. And, do I even need to discuss Erling Haaland? We know how good he is, and we know how many goals this guy can get. And I feel like Sparta Prague could be a game where Haaland could get a lot of goals. Then we've got Dusan Vlahovic. Might be a bit of a different shout, but I think Vlahovic is a really, really good option this week. A nice fixture coming up for Juventus, and I think Vlahovic is definitely one to watch. And he started the Champions League on absolute fire as well. Stuttgart at home isn't the best fixture for Vlahovic, but he started the season on fire. Juventus they've looked good so far in the Champions League, to be fair to them, and Vlahovic has been absolutely cooking in that team. So as a different shout, I don't mind it at all. He isn't in the second team, but I'll show you the second team right now. But let me know, as I say, what you think of that first team in the comment section down below. Now moving on to our second team, it is largely similar, the backline, to the first team. The only change coming from Trent Alexander-Arnold. I did take out an Arsenal defender in Saliba, so we've only got one Arsenal defender, in the goalkeeper in Raya, but this time we've got a Liverpool defender in. It's a tough decision in the backline. I think there's some really good players, but if you look at that backline overall, that has got great potential for clean sheets and attacking contributions. You look at Frimpong going forward. Rico Lewis Frimpong picked up an assist in the second game, and he picked up contribution in the first game as well. And then you look at Rico Lewis got an assist in Matchday 2. Hakimi, he hasn't got any contributions yet, but very, very good going forward. Trent Alexander-Arnold, we know what he's like, very good going forward as well. And I think he got an assist as well in the first game, if I'm not mistaken. And then Grimaldo as well, contributions already in the first game. And as I say, all that backline has potential for attacking returns as well as a good chance for clean sheet. So I might slightly prefer that backline, but I do feel like I'm missing out not going for double Arsenal. So maybe you could argue I could maybe take out either Hakimi or a Leverkusen player maybe. But it's a tough decision. But as I say, that backline there looks amazing in my opinion. So the midfield on this team is actually the same. This is where we changed the forward line, but the midfield for me, I am pretty set on that. Maybe Lookman could go out for somebody else, but I'm not sure who would. I've already tripled up on City. I've already tripled up on Arsenal as well. You know, I don't really know who else to go for in that midfield. So the midfield for me has stayed the same. Let me know any other players you're thinking of in your midfield, but that's my current midfield 5 there. And then moving on to the attack is where we've swapped up 2 of the players. This is where obviously we've swapped out the Arsenal defender and we've gone for Kai Havertz up front. He did well against PSG and he's been amazing for Arsenal season. The guy does chip in with a lot of goals. And with a nice fixture for Arsenal against Shakhtar, Havertz could be very good going forward. So I actually kind of like the layout of that defence. I'm not sure about Kai Havertz, but I do like him. But as I say, I want to triple up on Arsenal. And it's hard to get a double backline. When you look at that backline, all of them are players that are going to go forward and get contributions, attacking contributions, which I really like. And Kai Havertz is a top player as well. And then the final player, we've already got Haaland, we don't need to discuss. The final player then is Taremi for Inter Milan, playing against Young Boys, great fixture, and he's been on fire so far in the Champions League. So I'm liking the look of Taremi. Again, he's only 7 million, but the value doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter how cheap or expensive you are. Obviously, it's limitless, you can do what you want. Like a lot of people might think limitless, I'll go for all the most expensive players. But I think Taremi's got a great chance of getting returns against Young Boys. I think it could be a game where Inter can get a few goals and keep a clean sheet. They've looked good so far in the Champions League as well, picking up really good results. And Taremi, I'm liking him at 7 million. I'm liking him as a transfer in, and I'm liking him on a limitless chip as well. So let me know, which team do you prefer? Team 1 or Team 2? Obviously, they are quite similar. We are going to be kind of picking in the same, similar kind of pool of players from the same teams and that. And you could maybe argue I could maybe go for a Harry Kane in one of these teams as well. Could very easily change that. I might, towards the end of the week, I'm going to do another limitless team. So if you're interested in that, then do hit subscribe to the channel as well. I am going to do a wildcard team as well. And I'll let you know all my plans for my team as it gets close to the deadline. So thank you very much for watching this video. Please do leave a like if you've enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.